You're watching the Red Zone Sports Show on Fox 5.
We're ready to go, you hear me? More than ready to go.
Straight ahead of the Red Zone, UNLV laces it up to play in a hotbed of college football history and tradition. Another solid effort that shows progress, but plenty of questions remain. Head coach Tony Sanchez is in studio to break it all down. Plus, we look ahead to Saturday's home game against Idaho State. And we profile the man who is changing the Rebels' strength and conditioning through muscle and motivation. The Red Zone is ready to fire up. You ready, Coach?
Let's go!
This is the Fox 5 Red Zone Sports Show, presented by RC Willey. Your home, your way.
Good evening and welcome inside the Red Zone. Thanks for dropping in. Kevin Bullion alongside UNLV head football coach Tony Sanchez. And Coach, coming out of this Michigan game, you can see that this team is just this close to turning that corner.
Yeah, again, another really good, solid effort. Disappointing in the end result. There's some things we definitely need to work on and improve at. But the energy and the fight in our kids has been great.
Well, let's start taking a closer look at this one, starting in the first half, where the pomp and circumstance of Michigan football pregame gave way to the battle on the turf of the Big House.
If you do it right, the training will always be harder than the mission. You hear me on that? Yes, sir. If you do things the right way, the training is always harder than the mission. We are more than prepared for the mission that we're about to take on right now. You hear me, guys? Tradition doesn't win games. The past doesn't do anything. The past isn't a negative for us because this is the future. And their past isn't a positive for them because this is the future. You hear me, guys? Yes, it's about right now. There's nothing that's happened in the past that can hinder us and help them.
108,683 filled Michigan Stadium, and the atmosphere was electric in the Big House. Blake Decker got the start despite last week's injury, and he showed early that he had mobility. 3rd and 11 at the Michigan 24. Decker looks like he's going down, but he stays off the turf, and he scrambles for 16 yards and a first down at the 40. Next play, Decker picked off by Channing Stribling. The Wolverines had the ball for the first time, starting at the Rebel 32. They moved it inside the 10, and on 3rd and goal at the 5, Jake Rudock swings it out to Davion Smith for the touchdown, and it was quickly 7-0 Michigan. UNLV wanted to get a run game established, and Keith Whiteley had carries of 7 and 6 yards on consecutive plays to move the chains. On 3rd and 7 at the 33, Decker fumbles the snap and takes a 7-yard loss, forcing the Rebels to punt. The UNLV defense stepped up to keep Michigan's offense at bay. Fred Wilson with the great tackle to prevent a big gain. Then on 3rd and 13 at the UNLV 35, solid coverage by the DBs. Rudock can't find an open receiver, and he has to throw it away as the Rebels held. At the end of the first quarter, Michigan was up 7-0. Early in the second, Jehu Chesson in motion. He gets the handoff and he turns the corner, 36 yards for the score to give the Wolverines a 14-0 lead. After UNLV went 3 and out, Michigan had the ball near midfield. But on their first play from scrimmage, Rudock picked off by Wilson. That would give the Rebels the ball back. Another 3 and out, and after a Logan Yunker punt to the 10, Michigan started moving the ball. From the 24, Ty Isaac gets the handoff. He breaks through the left side, and he's got nothing but green in front of him. 76 yards for the touchdown as the Wolverines' lead was built to 21-0 with 7:50 left until halftime. The Rebels look to get some flow offensively. Decker to Anthony Williams for 9. Lexington Thomas around the right for a first down. Then Decker flushed out of the pocket, scrambles for 11 and another first. On 3rd and 8 at the 42, Decker gets hit as he throws, and the pass falls incomplete. After 30 minutes, Michigan is outrushing UNLV 171 yards to 73. Now they have a 21-0 lead as both teams head into the locker room.
You get into that locker room, what's the message to the team at halftime?
Obviously, there's things we needed to correct. Defensively, we need to do a better job of tackling. We played pretty darn well. We had that turnover early, the game in a short field, and then that one long touchdown run was a little disappointing because the amount of missed tackles on that. So we talked about that, but schematically we were doing all right defensively, and offensively we were just trying to find ourselves. That was it's a tough front to go up against, but we had to commit to the run. That's helping our defense out. Time of possession was only 2-second differential in the entire game, so we had to find a way to run the football and to take some pressure off again our quarterback a little bit, and we got to do a better job of making plays. Offensively, we struggled a little bit in the first half, quite a bit, and just settling the guys down and having them finish.
Decker got the start. At what point in the week did you know that not only would he be able to go, but he was going to be able to go in most of the series?
Really on Thursday. Tuesday we kind of gave him a little bit, and Wednesday he'd win a lot more, and then Thursday he got the majority of the reps, and then Friday he looked great. So we're fortunate that he was able to recover so fast.
We talked last week about the battle of the trenches being so important. Their defensive line really manhandled the Rebels' offensive line in this game.
Again, our guys played hard. They did a good job of sticking in the fight. But yeah, there's a physical disadvantage going into that thing, and and it's obvious. And but I'm not discrediting our guys at all. They're young. They're going to get better. They're going to improve. We got to keep recruiting, and that's one of the big things when you go and play a team like Michigan.
Well, let's go to the second half highlights where UNLV settled in and they put together a solid 30 minutes of football.
Michigan had the ball to open the second half, and the defense sent a message, stuffing the run twice and forcing the Wolverines to punt. But the run game struggles continued as Michigan's big defensive line had their way in the trenches, and they stopped Whiteley on 3 straight rushing attempts. Michigan moved into UNLV territory and went for it on 4th and 1 at the 36, but Davion Smith turned away by Najee Johnson, and the defense held once again. Kurt Palandek made his first appearance of the game in the next series and quickly got some rhythm going. The pass to George Nafahu for 8 in the first down. Then he completes one to Andrew Price for 14 more to move the chains as UNLV moved into Michigan territory at the 42. The drive would stall and both teams would trade possessions. Late in the third quarter, Decker back in a QB, trying to hit Kendall Keys, but he's intercepted by Jeremy Clark. After the pick, Michigan methodically moved the ball down the field. 3rd and 3 at the 6. Rudock swings it out to Seone Homa, whose knee goes down just short of the goal line. Next play, Homa finishes it off to make it 28-0 Michigan with 11:31 left. The Rebels needed a spark, and they would get it in the next series. Decker to Jake Phillips for 13 and a first. Then watch QB1 with the perfectly placed ball. Devontae Boyd has it, and he is off to the races all the way down to the 5. 2 plays later, Decker to Boyd in the corner of the end zone for the touchdown as UNLV gets on the board with a 5-play, 75-yard drive. It was 28-7 Michigan with 9:17 left in the game. The UNLV defense puts the clamps on from there on out. 4th and 7 for Michigan, and UNLV gets pressure on the quarterback to force the incompletion. One last chance for UNLV to get into the end zone once again. Palandek back at the controls. He hits Keys for a first down. Then to Nafahu to move the chains again. And Palandek using his feet to run for 15. But the clock ticked away to the end of the game. UNLV held their own in the second half, but falls at Michigan 28-7.
So things started to click in the second half on both sides of the ball. Let's start with the offense. How important was it for this team moving forward for this offense to get in the end zone there in the fourth quarter?
Well, it's huge. Just building some momentum and getting those guys confidence as we go into the next week, and and they're out there and they're working hard. You can't discredit that. No one knows how hard these guys are really working. So to see them have some success, to start to feel good about it, that was a big thing for us moving into next week.
You've always stressed 60 minutes of hard play. That was evident at the end of the game, trying to get that push for another score, calling the timeout with 2 seconds left. Message delivered to your team that this is a 60-minute game.
Absolutely. You know, we're not going to quit. We're not going to stop fighting. We're not going to continue to grow as an organization, as a program. And our kids believe in it. And you saw it at the end. I mean, they came out in the second half. You know, we started over and, played a great half. Defensively, we held them to 7 points. Offensively, we scored 7. So, there's some things to grow. And again, not happy at all at the end result, but happy with the way the guys competed the entire 60 minutes.
We all knew these first 3 games were going to be tough assignments for the Rebels. What's your assessment of this team after you've gone through that?
I think when you look at, the 3 games that we played, the one thing that's very evident is that, we're doing things the right way, where there's not a lot of silly penalties, where, we're not having, personnel issues. We're playing the entire 60 minutes. Defensively, we've looked pretty darn good. Obviously, there's some things we need to work on offensively, but we put ourselves in a position to compete. I mean, you had obviously a real close week 1. You had a 10-point game almost at half against UCLA, and then, you have a game against Michigan where, it was never completely put away, So we got to continue to grow. We can't be settled with it, and we have a tough opponent this week. So if you take the same energy and effort on into this Saturday, we have a great opportunity for success.
Well, straight ahead, we're going to have some post-game reaction from quarterback Blake Decker after that loss at the Big House. And then we do begin our look ahead, taking a closer look at Saturday's foe at Sam Boyd Stadium, Idaho State. The Red Zone, back in just 2 minutes.
You're watching the Fox 5 Red Zone Sports Show, presented by RC Willey. Your home, your way.
We've got some scrappers. We've got some kids that want to fight and that want to win. And I mean, the feeling in the locker room is just the guys want to win. Ultimately, is that what it boils down to. So it's tough. It's frustrating to come out here and do what we did in the first half offensively when our defense was playing so well. And you can't turn the ball over in games like this, and 2 of those are on me, and that just can't happen when we play a team like Michigan if we want to win. But we're looking at our schedule the rest of the way out with opportunities to win every game.
Let's turn our attention to this Saturday's home game against Idaho State, a team that, like the Rebels, hungry for a win.
Idaho State is not a team UNLV can sleep on. The Bengals are starting to turn things around out of the Big Sky, and last year cracked the FCS Top 25 for the first time in 11 years. On Friday night, the Bengals were manhandled by Boise State 52-0 and will come to Las Vegas to prove a point before they begin conference play next week. Head coach Mike Kramer is looking for a mentality change in his team.
It's not a track meet. It's not a beauty contest. It's a game played by hard-mindedness.
Under Kramer, Idaho State has become known for a high-powered passing game out of the spread, but they've also instituted a heavy dose of the run in the last year. Ja'Cory Ford and Xavier Finney lead the rushing attack. At the controls is Michael Sanders, who was Blake Decker's replacement at Scottsdale Community College and transferred to ISU this year. Defensively, Idaho State has some holes. Their safeties lead the team in tackles. This could be a chance for UNLV to put some points on the board, but there are no gimmies in college football, and the Rebels will have to work to get their first win of the season.
On the field, biggest concerns that you have on Idaho State?
Well, as you said, Coach Kramer's done a great job over there. They're a program that's, starting to win games and do some really good things. So we can't, the thing I told our staff is we can't exhale. We've done a good job of playing hard and playing tough for the last 12 quarters. We have to continue that on into this week. I tell the kids, all the time, the next game you play is the most important game you'll ever play. So we have to have that mentality, and we just got to go back to work and focus on ourselves.
After 3 big-time opponents, there might be the tendency to lose focus a little bit with Idaho State coming in. Is the fact that this team's looking for their first win going to be the equalizer for you to make sure that you have their complete attention on that? I
believe so. And they know they're more than well aware that there's no gimmies in college football, and you got to show up to work every single week. So I know our guys are going to be excited about the opportunity. Hopefully we get a big crowd out there and get that big college atmosphere going again. And our guys are hungry for a win. They've worked hard and they deserve it.
Rebel Strong, it's taken on a new meaning this year at UNLV. Next in the Red Zone, we're going to give you a closer look at the man who's taking things at UNLV to a whole new level in the weight room. It's been an incredible journey, and Keith Belton is just getting started. His story on the backside of the break. Stick and stay.
This hair-raising play of the week is brought to you by Vegas Valley Hair.
The Rebels looking to get into the end zone in the big house. Fourth quarter, Blake Decker goes to the corner and hits Devontae Boyd for the touchdown to get UNLV on the board. The Decker to Boyd combination, a familiar one to Rebel fans, and it's this week's hair-raising play of the week.
You're watching the Fox 5 Reb Zone Sports Show, presented by RC Willey. Your home, your way.
All season long, we've been talking about a new attitude around this Rebel football team, and it's made its way into the weight room as well, where new strength and conditioning coach Keith Belton is transforming mind, body, and spirit.
The newfound energy within the UNLV football program is undeniable, and right in the center of it is Keith Belton. Whether it's on the practice field,
there you go, 5. Put your hand right, 5.
In the weight room, or on the sideline, the strength and conditioning coach is pushing, prodding, encouraging.
You're going to love it, man.
If you want the kids to have energy and you want the kids to have enthusiasm, well, they got to learn somewhere. You know, somebody got to show them. You just can't say, hey, you go do that. If they've never done it, then they don't know how to do it. My energy has been a catalyst to these kids, and these kids are putting energy into the program. They put energy out in the school, and of course it's spreading.
Belton has brought a down and dirty aspect to the UNLV strength program. It started his first day in the weight room, where the workout was for everyone, himself included, to scrub the room from top to bottom. A fresh start with a fresh attitude.
Anybody can blow a whistle. I mean, anybody can do that. Anybody can go read a science book and call himself a strength coach, but you got to be able to motivate. If you can't motivate, then it's not the business for you.
Belton's journey is all about motivation and perseverance. He was a standout fullback at Syracuse and went undrafted, but still managed to play 4 seasons in the NFL for 3 different teams. He became a substitute teacher and social worker, but his calling was football. So Belton rolled the dice, leaving his family behind to get a start at Baylor before they joined him. That led to assistant jobs at Washington and USC before Tony Sanchez called to make his dream a reality.
I literally dropped. My stomach dropped, and I really just cried. I could not believe it. I could not believe that the guy who left his home and left his family 6 years ago and had to live off assistance for 2 years was finna get a head spot at a big-time university.
It's been full speed ahead ever since, and the infectious work ethic and demeanor has rubbed off on the team.
This is the only sport where you can go out there and hit somebody and talk with somebody and celebrate with your teammates and have a good time and celebrate with your coaches. You're supposed to do that, but you got to work to have those opportunities.
That work is paying dividends, and Belton sees the foundation being formed for long-term success at UNLV.
But I tell you this, everybody who has beat us to this point and everybody who has beat us in the past, they better have their fun now because the time is running out. It's running out, and we're going to do it the right way. And this thing's going to turn around, and then everybody's going to be happy. It's going to be an exciting time for UNLV football.
Sanchez has adopted the term Las Vegas. Why not us? Why not now? It's about creating opportunities and taking advantage through hard work. In other words, being Keith Belton.
I'm living a dream. No doubt about it.
Some fans may overlook the strength and conditioning aspect, but how important is getting that foundation to turning a football program around?
It's pivotal. It's huge. You know, and Keith is the right guy. I mean, he's a coordinator. I mean, you have your offensive coordinator, your defensive coordinator, special teams, and strength and conditioning. You know, without that, it's hard to turn that corner to being a great program. And, you know, I love his energy, you know, and that's the whole thing. We need intelligent guys who know how to teach, but they have to have passion. We can't be afraid to do things differently. We can't be afraid to challenge our guys on a daily basis, and he does a great job of that, and I think you've seen it.
That high energy really fits your style, and we've seen that in your entire staff that you've hired. You want that high-level energy from the very beginning to the very end every day.
Hey, it's an emotional game, and we're blessed to be doing what we do for a living. Every day we walk out there and say, this is a pretty good gig, and that whole energy is infectious with the kids. When they know you're having fun, you enjoy what you're doing, you enjoy the process and the fight that's ahead, they jump right in with you, and Keith has been a reflection of that, and we're going to continue to work, and like he said, we're going to get this thing done.
One last break, and then we're going to wrap things up, including the Rebel Plays of the Week. But first, here's a look at how other Mountain West teams did over the weekend.
You're watching the Fox 5 Red Zone Sports Show, presented by RC Willie. Your home, your way.
One of the key things coming into the season, get through the 3 games without any major injuries. You've done that, and now you actually have a couple of key players coming back this week.
We do. Matt Lee, obviously, saw him get a little banged up in the Michigan game, so we'll find out later this week, but hopefully it's nothing too serious. Jeremiah Valoga will come back this week, so he'll definitely help out in that defensive end spot. And then Nick Estrain had a previous off-the-field issue before we got here that he had to serve 3-game suspension. So we'll get him back, and he's the guy that started quite a few games for UNLV. So we're excited. I mean, he'll make a big difference and add a much-needed extra body that can come in and help us move the ball offensively.
Big game this week. Good luck, Coach. 6 p.m. kickoff out at Sam Boyd Stadium as UNLV takes on Idaho State. We're going to leave you tonight with the football plays of the week. Thanks for joining us in the Red Zone. Good night.
If you do it right, the training will always be harder than the mission. You hear me on that?
Red Bull in my hands, feels like I got wings. Lot of people in my face, but I can't hear a thing. It's like my head's up in the clouds, head's up in the clouds, and I ain't coming down. No. Motivated, like Nike's on my feet. Understand the situation. Yeah, this is not a game. This is not a game. You ain't gonna bring me down. No. Yeah, I mean what I say, and I say what I mean. You best wipe off the hater look before you make me scream. What are you?
The Fox 5 Red Zone Sports Show was presented by RC Willie. Your home, your